Hi, Aaron Myers here from the Everyday Language Learner, and today I want to talk to you about an activity called Everyday Question Cards. It's an activity that I learned that allowed me to do a couple of things with everyday common questions. One was to be able to understand these questions as they were asked of me, to recognize what was being asked right away. The second was to be able to formulate a more robust answer than just the simple one-word answers that I was giving. And I wanted to do this to not only move my fluency forward in Turkish, but as well to just allow me to dig deeper into relationships. One-word answers don't go a long way toward building relationships. And then the third thing was that it allowed me to learn and be able to understand the answers that people were giving me when I was asking these questions. In order to work with this activity, everyday question cards, the first thing you're going to need is just a stack of note cards. The idea is that you're going to put a bunch of questions on these note cards that you can then review on a daily basis. The second thing we need to do is really come up with questions. And so to kind of start with, what I like to think of is what are some of the common questions that I would ask of others if I were trying to get to know them? What are some of the common questions that have been asked of me as I've been out wandering around in the native speaker community? And then 5 or 10 questions that I've been asked that I'd like to answer better, that I would like to do a better job of answering. Some examples of these are things like, where are you from? Oh, why have you come here? What is your work? Are you married? Do you have children? Do you like it here? What do you like to do for fun? What are you doing today? These are sort of the common questions we ask of one another. And I think universally we ask in order to get to know people and to move through conversation. And so they will be asked of us. Other questions are kind of the information questions that happen throughout our day. Things like, what time is it? Do you know how to get to the bank or the post office? Where are you going? Do you know a good place to eat around here? These are sort of the questions that people will feel free to ask perfect strangers. And if you're walking down the street, or if you're in a cafe, or you're out in the community, they could be asked of you. And even if they're not asked of you a lot, you can imagine that these are questions that if you want to get competent and master the language that you're learning, that you need to be able to answer. So this activity is really set up for those that are in the country, but if you know you're going to the country, to be able to start working on this beforehand is really going to prime the pump, is going to push you forward so that you can be really ready and prepared to do better once you get there. And then you're going to go deeper in relationships. You're going to get more out of the conversations that you have. This is how you do this. Using your stack of note cards, what you want to do is on one side, and I've written everything in English here, you're going to write these common questions in your native language. For me, that's English. For you, it could be something else. So what time is it? Are you married? Where are you from? Why did you come to Turkey, in my case? You're going to write these questions on the cards. On the back side of those cards, then, you are going to either get help from a native speaker or somehow figure out what is the target language equivalent to that question. It won't necessarily be a direct translation, but what is the equivalent? If you wanted to ask someone about their work, write that on the back side so that you have that. The great thing about working with a native speaker is that there are usually, if you think about it, more than one way to ask a lot of these questions. And so what should happen is you will start with kind of one question in the target language on the back, but hopefully that will grow as native speakers tell you, well, you could also ask it this way, or and they'll grow. So you'll have 2 or 3, maybe even 4 questions on the back that you can use to help get you into this activity. Once you have that, The first thing to do is really to practice hearing these questions so that you can recognize them. If you think about a question like, excuse me, do you know what time it is? When that's asked of you, people are speaking at their normal rate of speed. So I just said it, excuse me, do you know what time it is? I said it really quickly. And that's what happens. When people walk up to you on the street, they aren't going to immediately recognize you as a language learner and say, excuse me, do you know what time it is? They aren't going to slow down for you. And so you need to be able to practice hearing it so that you can recognize it. And so what I did with these cards was I was working with a language helper to learn Turkish. But it could just be a native speaking friend or anyone really. And what I would do is every couple of days I would hand him this deck of cards and I would have him simply go through them in random order. We'd shuffle them each time so they came up in a different way each time. And he would ask me these questions kind of in rapid fire succession so that I would have to recognize them and give an answer. Now at first, I was giving simple answers, the answers that I could give. But so the number one first goal, I guess, is to help you recognize these questions, to hear them so that you're recognizing them when you hear them on the street or when someone asks you. The second thing I did then was I began to choose one or two a week and began to create more robust answers. So I would take a notebook. For example, where are you from? The simple answer is, I'm from America. But the reality is, I'm from a lot of places. And telling someone where I'm from is a big part about telling people who I am. Saying I'm from America puts me in this little box. It's a big box, but it's little. I want to be able to share, like, this is where I'm from, this is who I am. And so I would take a question like this and write out a paragraph long answer that if I were asked this in English, this is what I would say, to give people a better picture of really where I'm from. So I worked through writing this out in Turkish. Then I went back with my language helper and we corrected it. You know, I had mistakes in there. And then I rewrote it on another notebook page. So the next time when we were going through this activity together, he would ask me, where are you from? And I'd been working on it, but I would use that as a cheat sheet in order to really be able to say it. And by saying it over and over again, I was able to really begin to internalize it in a way that when I was asked it in the streets then, or by other friends, I was able to give this more robust answer. And it meant a lot more to me. I had a greater sense of success. I also just had a greater sense of they know me. They know who I am. So the second thing you want to do with this activity is really to begin to write out in the beginning more robust answers to the questions that you want to be able to explain more. Get those corrected with a native speaker, and then start to really internalize them. If it's memorizing them, but working through those over and over again so that when you're out and someone says, where are you from? Right away you know, okay, I can give my long answer. I've got it. I know how to share this. A few other things you can do with this to maximize it. One is you should, and I would encourage this, is to record both your questions and your long answers. Sit down with a native speaker, have them record both of those. Now you can put those on your iPod and listen to them a couple times a day, and that is going to speed the rate at which you're able to proficiently answer these questions. The second is to reverse this activity, to take it out into the community and to create a narrow listening exercise. What this means is you're going to, for example, choose a few questions, maybe one or two. Where are you from? And you're going to go out to different places, to different friends in the community, and ask them these questions. Where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? Each of them are going to answer in their own way, but there's going to be a recycling of not only words, but grammatical structures, and you're going to hear the way that other people naturally share about where they're from. Now you have a little more feedback, you've given yourself a great listening experience, and you can begin to emulate and kind of copy how they're telling where they're from. That can be done with any of these questions. What are the benefits of doing everyday question cards? Well, first it really helps reduce stress and builds confidence as you get used to these questions, so that when you're hearing them, you're recognizing them right away, and you are understanding and already knowing how to answer them. The second is it builds kind of your foundational knowledge. Now you're learning specific, speech acts, a specific paragraph for a specific answer, but within that are all the things that language is built on, and that will carry over into all the other areas that you want to be growing in. The third thing is really that you are then really able to understand more and learn to understand more of people's answers. And that, of course, is great to be able to ask a question and understand what you're hearing. And then perhaps most importantly, it really helps you build relationships faster with people. If you're able to do more than one sentence answers, it takes you deeper into the relationship. And for me, that's the most important aspect of learning another language. I want to be in relationship with people. I want to be able to get to know them, and for them to really get to know me. And finally, it's another activity. Variety is the spice of life. The more activities you have in order to work on learning whatever language you're learning, it's going to help you stick with it longer because it's going to be more fun. That's Everyday Language Cards. Give it a try. I'd love to hear what you think, how you've used it, maybe how you've adapted it, changed it, how you've used it in a classroom with your students, or how you've used it from your own country. Those are the sorts of things I want to explore more. How can we maximize this? How can we do better with it? Thanks for listening. Blessings on your language learning journey.